Laura sat curled up in the corner of the uncompleted building, shivering as the cool August night breeze swept over her. She pulled her tattered shawl tighter around her thin frame, her stomach growling with hunger. It had been a hard day of begging, and she had managed to get just enough money for a piece of bread. But hunger was the least of her worries. This abandoned structure was her only shelter. Ever since her parents died, she had lived like this on the streets, surviving on the little kindness she could find. She was drifting into uneasy sleep when the sound of approaching footsteps startled her. Blinking in the dim morning light, she saw a tall, well-dressed man standing before her, his face twisted in disgust. His presence commanded authority, and his piercing eyes burned with anger. "What are you doing here?" he barked. Laura quickly scrambled to her feet, fear gripping her heart. "Sir, I don't have anywhere else to go." The man folded his arms, his expression unreadable. "This is my private property. You have no right to be here." "Please," she begged, her voice trembling. "I have nowhere else to sleep. That was why I used to sleep here." "I don't care," he snapped, pulling out his phone. "You're trespassing." Laura's lips quivered as she watched him make a call. "I want this site secured immediately. No one should be sleeping here again," he ordered before ending the call. Without another word, he turned on his heels and strode away, leaving Laura standing there, her heart sinking. Tears welled up in her eyes as she watched security guards arrive and chase her out. That morning, she wandered the streets, feeling more hopeless than ever. Meanwhile, that day, Jerry Lawson, the CEO of Lawson Group, sat in his office reviewing contracts when his phone rang. "Mr. Lawson, we're hosting a dinner tomorrow to finalize the deal," a deep voice said. "I assume you'll be bringing your wife?" Jerry's jaw tightened. "My wife is traveling," he lied. The businessman sighed. "That's unfortunate. We prefer family-oriented business partners. If you're unmarried, we might have to reconsider." The call ended, and Jerry groaned, slamming his fist on the table. Why did these people always ask about his personal life? When he got home, his best friend and housemate John immediately noticed his frustration. "What's wrong this time?" John asked. Jerry scowled. "The client refused to sign the deal because I don't have a wife," John chuckled. "That's easy. Hire someone to pretend." Jerry frowned but kept the idea in mind. The next day, as he was driving to work, he saw Wura walking along the street, looking weak and exhausted. Without thinking, he pulled over. "Get in," he ordered. Wura hesitated. "Why?" "I have a job for you," Jerry said bluntly. "I need someone to pretend to be my wife." Wura stared at him in shock. "Me?" "Yes, you. I'll pay for your transformation, clothes, training, everything. But this is a contract. You are nothing more than an act to me." Wura swallowed hard. She had no other option. "Deal," she whispered. Wura sat stiffly in the passenger seat of Jerry's sleek black car as it glided through the streets of Lagos. The luxurious leather seats felt foreign under her fingertips, and the scent of expensive cologne filled the air. She had never been in a car like this before. Jerry drove in silence, his jaw clenched, his grip firm on the steering wheel. He seemed irritated, as if her mere presence was an inconvenience. After a while, she couldn't take the silence anymore. "Sir, where are we going?" she asked hesitantly. Jerry scoffed, not bothering to glance at her. "First rule, don't ask me questions." Wura swallowed the lump in her throat and looked down at her hands. She had agreed to this deal because she had no choice. But now, sitting beside this cold and rude man, she wondered if she had made a mistake. Minutes later, they arrived at a massive mansion in the heart of Victoria Island. Yura's mouth fell open in shock as she took in the grandeur. Tall gates, expensive cars, and a sprawling compound. "This is your house?" she whispered in disbelief. Jerry sighed impatiently. "Yes, get out." Wura quickly stepped out of the car, still overwhelmed by the sight before her. As they walked in, a man with a friendly smile greeted them. "Welcome home, Jerry," the man said, before turning to Wura. "And who is this?" "This is Wura," Jerry said flatly. "She'll be staying here for a while." The man's eyes twinkled with curiosity. I'm John. Nice to meet you, Wara. Wara managed a small smile. Nice to meet you too. John shot Jerry a knowing look. So, you finally found someone to help with your problem. Jerry rolled his eyes. Enough, John. She's just here for the job. John smirked. Right, just a job. Jerry ignored him and turned to Wara. Starting tomorrow, you'll be trained. You need to learn how to speak properly, dress elegantly, and behave like a high-class woman. You must be flawless before the dinner meeting in 2 weeks. Wara hesitated. I don't know if I can do all that. Jerry narrowed his eyes. You don't have a choice. If you mess this up, you won't get paid. Wara nodded quickly. I understand. The next day, a professional trainer arrived. She was a strict woman named Mrs. Williams, and she wasted no time putting Wara to work. You walk like a street girl, she said, shaking her head. Straighten your back, chin up. Wara struggled in high heels, nearly falling multiple times. She fumbled with her cutlery during dining lessons, and her attempt at speaking in refined English made Jerry burst into laughter. You sound ridiculous, he sneered. Wara's face burned with embarrassment, but John gave her an encouraging smile. Don't listen to him. You're improving. 2 weeks later, she looked transformed. Beautiful dresses, styled hair, flawless makeup. But deep inside, she still felt like the homeless girl from the streets. Would she really be able to pull this off? Wara stood in front of the full-length mirror, staring at her reflection. The girl looking back at her was unrecognizable. Her hair was styled in soft waves, her face perfectly made up, and the elegant black gown hugged her frame as if it were made for her. But no matter how polished she looked, she still felt like a fraud. You clean up nicely, Jerry said, walking into the room. His eyes scanned her from head to toe, his expression unreadable. Wara shifted uncomfortably. Thank you, sir, Jerry scoffed. First rule, stop calling me sir. My wife wouldn't call me that. Wara swallowed. What should I call you then? Just Jerry, she nodded, still feeling uneasy. For weeks, she had undergone intense training, learning how to walk with grace, how to use proper table manners, even how to fake confidence in a room full of wealthy people. Mrs. Williams had been strict, and Jerry had been no help, constantly ridiculing her mistakes. But John had been her only support, always encouraging her when she felt like giving up. John entered the room then, a warm smile on his face. Wow, Wara, you look amazing, she blushed slightly. Thanks, John. Jerry rolled his eyes. All right, enough of that. Tonight is the real test. We're going to a private dinner with one of my biggest investors. This is your chance to prove you can play the role of my wife. Wara's heart pounded. What if I mess up? Jerry smirked. Then you'll be back on the streets. Wara flinched at his words, but took a deep breath and nodded. She had come too far to fail now. That evening, they arrived at an exclusive restaurant. The dim lighting and elegant decor screamed wealth, and Wara felt completely out of place. She clung to Jerry's arm as they walked in, her hands trembling slightly. Relax, Jerry whispered through gritted teeth. A nervous wife will make me look suspicious. Wara forced a smile, trying to calm her nerves. They approached the table where an older man sat, watching them closely. Ah, Jerry, the man said, standing up to shake his hand. And this must be your lovely wife. Yes, Jerry replied smoothly. This is Wara. Wara smiled, remembering to keep her back straight and her voice steady. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. The man nodded approvingly. You have a beautiful wife, Jerry. Jerry smirked. I know. Wara tried not to react to his arrogance. As the dinner progressed, she remained quiet, listening to the business talk. But when the man turned to her and asked, Which wine do you prefer? She froze. Panic filled her mind. She didn't know anything about wine. She quickly blurted out, Snacks. The table went silent. Jerry's grip on his glass tightened. The man raised an eyebrow. Snacks? Wara's face turned red. She had ruined everything. The man sighed and leaned back. Jerry, I know you hired her. I've heard about your reputation. I wanted to see if you would be honest. But you lied. Jerry's face darkened. Sir, I don't do business with liars. The deal is off. Jerry clenched his jaw, his hands trembling with rage. Wara sat frozen in her seat, ashamed. She had failed, and now she would have to face Jerry's wrath. Jerry stormed out of the restaurant, his face burning with anger. Wara hurried after him, her heels clicking loudly on the pavement. She barely made it to the car before he turned to her, eyes blazing with fury. You embarrassed me, he shouted, his voice sharp as a knife. Do you have any idea how important that deal was? Wara swallowed hard, her hands trembling. I'm sorry, I panicked. Jerry scoffed. Of course you did. I should have known this was a mistake. He yanked open the car door and got in, slamming it shut. Wara hesitated before slowly stepping inside. The ride home was painfully silent. Jerry's grip on the steering wheel was tight, his knuckles white. Wara could feel his anger filling the car like a thick fog. When they arrived at the mansion, Jerry got out without a word and disappeared inside. Wara stepped out hesitantly, feeling lost and unwanted. The cold night air sent shivers down her spine. Just as she was about to walk inside, John appeared at the door, his face filled with concern. Wara, are you okay? She shook her head, tears stinging her eyes. I ruined everything. He hates me now. John sighed and placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Jerry is just difficult. He's always been like that. Don't take it personally. Wara wiped her tears. But it is personal. I failed him. John gave her a reassuring smile. You did your best. That's what matters. The next morning, Wara woke up early and packed her things. She knew Jerry would throw her out, so she wanted to leave before he could. As she reached the door, John stopped her. Where are you going? He asked. Wara lowered her gaze. I know Jerry will ask me to leave. I just wanted to go before he kicks me out. John frowned. You don't have to leave. Stay and work here. Wara looked up in surprise. Work here? John nodded. Jerry never hired a maid. We need someone to take care of the house. Wara hesitated. Do you think he will agree? John smirked. Leave that to me. Later that day, John spoke to Jerry about the idea. Jerry was still furious about the failed deal, but after some convincing, he finally agreed. Fine, Jerry said, crossing his arms. But she works for her stay, and I don't want to hear her opinions on anything. When John told Wara the news, she felt relieved. She no longer had to live on the streets. But working for Jerry wouldn't be easy. Days passed, and Wara did her best to clean and cook, but no matter what she did, Jerry always found a reason to complain. You call this food? He scoffed one evening, pushing his plate away. Even a dog wouldn't eat this. Wara bit her lip to stop herself from crying. John, as always, tried to comfort her. Don't let him get to you, he whispered. You're doing great. Wara smiled weakly, but deep inside, she wondered how long she could survive in this house, under Jerry's constant insults. Days turned into weeks, and Wara adjusted to her new life as a maid in Jerry's house. She cleaned, cooked, and took care of the mansion. But no matter how hard she worked, Jerry never acknowledged her efforts. His sharp words cut deep, and every day felt like a battle. One evening, as she set the dining table, she heard Jerry's raised voice from his room. Curious, she moved closer and peeked through the slightly open door. I don't care what it takes. We need to increase sales, Jerry barked into his phone. The last marketing strategy didn't work. Find another way or you're all fired. Wara hesitated before stepping inside. Sir, may I say something? Jerry spun around, his glare icy. Did I ask for your opinion? Wara took a deep breath. No, but I have an idea. I overheard your conversation, and I think you should try a local advertisement. Something simple that connects with everyday people. If you feature a relatable person in the ad, it might attract more buyers. Jerry scoffed. And you think a homeless girl like you knows anything about business? Wara looked down, her heart sinking. I was just trying to help. Next time, keep your ideas to yourself, Jerry snapped. You're a maid, not a business expert. Tears welled in Wura's eyes as she turned to leave. But before she could step out, John walked in. I heard what she said, John said calmly, glancing at Jerry. And I think she has a point. Jerry frowned. You agree with her? John nodded. Local ads could work. We don't need celebrities or expensive campaigns. If we use a real person, someone who represents our audience, it could go viral. Jerry was silent for a moment, considering John's words. Then with a sigh, he rubbed his temples. Fine, we'll try it. A few days later, Jerry's company shot a simple commercial featuring Wura as the face of the product. She wore a modest dress and spoke directly to the camera about how the product could benefit everyday people. At first, Jerry regretted the decision. He thought it was a waste of time. But then something unexpected happened. The advertisement went viral. People loved the authenticity. The comments flooded in. Finally, a commercial that feels real. Hey, she looks like one of us. I trust this brand now. This ad is brilliant. Sales skyrocketed. Jerry couldn't believe his eyes. He stared at his phone, watching the numbers climb. John, he called out. Get Wura. John rushed to get Wura, who had been in the kitchen. She hesitantly entered Jerry's office. Jerry looked at her, his face unreadable. Then, to everyone's surprise, he muttered, You were right. Wura's eyes widened. I was? Jerry nodded. Because of you, my business just made millions. And for that, I owe you. For the first time, Wura saw something in Jerry's eyes she had never seen before. Respect. Jerry had never been the kind of man to admit he was wrong. Yet here he was, standing in front of her, acknowledging her contribution to his company's success. It felt strange, humbling. Still in shock, Wura shifted uncomfortably. I was just trying to help. Jerry let out a short laugh. Well, you did more than help. You saved my company's reputation. John grinned. I told you she had good ideas. Jerry rolled his eyes, but didn't argue. Instead, he reached into his drawer, pulled out a check, scribbled something on it, and held it out to Wura. This is for you. 7 million naira. Wura's breath hitched. What? Jerry shrugged. You earned it. Take it. Wura hesitated before reaching for the check. As soon as she touched it, tears welled in her eyes. This was more money than she had ever seen in her life. With this, she could start over. Thank you, she whispered, overwhelmed. Jerry cleared his throat, suddenly looking uncomfortable. Yeah, don't get emotional. John chuckled. You're learning to be nice, Jerry. I'm impressed. Jerry shot him a glare, but didn't deny it. Instead, he turned back to Wura. Also, from now on, you're no longer a maid. You'll work in my company. Your creativity is wasted in the kitchen. Wura gasped. You want me to work for you? Jerry nodded. Yes, you have ideas, and I need someone who thinks differently. But let's be clear, this is a job, not charity. Wura wiped her tears and straightened her back. I understand, and I accept. John clapped his hands together. Great, looks like we're all moving forward. But just as Wura was about to smile, Jerry took a deep breath and spoke again. There's one more thing. John and Wura both turned to him, waiting. Jerry ran a hand through his hair, looking frustrated. I owe you more than money, Wura. The truth is, you've changed the way I see things, the way I see women. Wura's eyes widened. What do you mean? Jerry sighed. I've spent years hating women because of what my mother did to my father. She took everything from him and left us with nothing. I swore I'd never trust a woman again. He met Wura's gaze. But you're different. You've shown me kindness, even when I didn't deserve it. You've proven that not all women are the same. Wura felt her heart race. Jerry, he took a deep breath. What I'm trying to say is, I love you, Wura, and I want you to teach me how to love again. Silence filled the room. Wura's hands trembled. She had never expected this. John, standing nearby, shifted uncomfortably. Then, with tears in her eyes, Wura finally spoke. Jerry, I'm sorry, but I love John. John has already asked me out, before you did. I'm sorry. Jerry's heart sank. He looked at John, who suddenly looked guilty. Yora continued, her voice soft but firm. John was the one who comforted me when you insulted me. He gave me hope. And my heart belongs to him. Jerry clenched his jaw, his hands curling into fists. For the first time in his life, he felt something he had never felt before. Heartbreak. The room was thick with tension as Jerry processed Wora's words. He had never expected to hear such a confession. For the first time in his life, he realized that some things, no matter how powerful or wealthy you are, cannot be bought. He had let his guard down, only to realize that the woman he had fallen for was already in love with someone else. And not just anyone. His best friend, John. John shifted uncomfortably, guilt clear in his eyes. Jerry, I never meant to hurt you. Jerry let out a bitter chuckle, shaking his head. Hurt me? I should have known this would happen. I pushed everyone away for so long. And now that I finally opened my heart, it's too late. Wora wiped a tear from her cheek. I never wanted to cause you pain. But John was there for me when I was at my lowest. He treated me with kindness when I had nothing. He made me feel like I mattered. Jerry clenched his jaw. Then, slowly, he exhaled and forced his shoulders to relax. I understand, he said finally. It's not your fault, and it's not John's either. Wora looked at him hopefully. You're not angry? Jerry gave a small, sad smile. I was, at first. But love isn't something you can force. I spent years thinking I didn't need anyone, that I was better off alone. You proved me wrong, and for that, I'm grateful. John stepped forward. Jerry, you're like a brother to me. I don't want this to ruin our friendship. Jerry hesitated, then gave a slow nod. It won't. It might take some time, but I'll be fine. Wora smiled through her tears. Thank you, Jerry. Truly. Jerry turned to her, his expression softer than ever before. You deserve happiness, Wora. And I think John will give that to you. She nodded, glancing at John, who took her hand in his. Jerry sighed, then smirked slightly. I suppose I should start looking for my own happiness too. John grinned. You'll find it, Jerry. Maybe sooner than you think. And when you do, Wora added, her voice warm, I hope she's someone who shows you that love isn't a weakness. It's the strongest thing there is. Jerry chuckled. We'll see about that. As he watched John and Wora together, he felt a pang of sadness, but also something new. Peace. He had spent years running from love, from connection. Now he understood that life wasn't meant to be lived alone. Walking over to the window, he looked out at the city lights and smiled to himself. Maybe his story wasn't over yet. Maybe this was just the beginning of something new. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.